I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. Done. It is done. The Lord says 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 it is done.
Well, that was a fucking lie.
One, two and freeze, don't nobody move. 1, 2 and freeze, don't nobody move. 1, 2 and freeze, don't nobody move. Don't nobody move. Don't nobody move. 1, 2 and freeze.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Chill Regular. My name is Jonesy, and with me is Matt, David, Sean, and we got a very special guest today, my good old BFF, Hansi Ponzi. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, man. What's up,
really
y'all?
glad you're here.
Welcome.
Super happy you guys are out
Yeah,
here.
me too.
I'm stoked that you fuckers woke up early on a Saturday to get here, besides David.
That was hard.
10 a.m., folks.
10
Very
a.m.,
difficult
very
for
difficult.
apparently
But you know what? I'm
humans.
really proud of you guys. You guys did not disappoint. We've already smoked half a J. We have beer on the table. We have wine and coffee. The coffee
yeah.
is key, to be honest with you. The
Energy
coffee
drinks
is
and
absolutely
soda,
key.
too.
And yeah, we are set, guys. If this looks like a prep for a zombie apocalypse,
It does.
we're close, right?
Yeah. We're in the battle planning phase.
Phase of everything.
Yeah.
And I got the coffee mug with the hanging dick toucan nose.
It's
I love
very
it.
good.
It's very, very phallic.
It's very. I didn't even notice that till you both said it, and
I've
I'm
got,
slightly
and that's
aroused.
the only thing you could see.
I got you.
You're sick.
Well, gentlemen, we woke up to news today, and I don't care to get into too many of the political debates and who's this, who's that. But from right now, we understand that Biden has won.
All the news organizations are calling it that Biden won, except for Breitbart and OWN.
I don't even know who those
fuck
guys
is
who
that?
those are. Who?
Yeah.
What? Are they like? Are they good?
Breitbart?
Are they reasonable?
Breitbart, is that like that evil superhero guy?
I mean, if they haven't called the election, then yes,
It's
they're
better if you
definitely
don't
that.
know.
It's better if you don't know, I guess. So I mean, since Tuesday, it's been a kind of an up and down type of roller coaster for a lot of people. I found out this morning because my lovely neighbor basically ran out of the house and was just like, Biden won. And it was rather humorous to me, mainly because she wasn't wearing a bra and it was a very loose t-shirt. So all I saw were
Well,
boobs just
like
jiggling
running
around.
through the street like Ebenezer Scrooge, realizing it's Christmas.
Almost. I feel like almost that's kind of how it went
So the
down.
whole
So that's
election
how I
was
found
worth
out.
it. The election was worth it.
The election was worth it. Yeah. Thank you, neighbor. I appreciate you.
Gravity at work. If you're listening, you're why the sun shine.
Yeah, thank you.
Democratic titties.
And there it is.
And we found it. That's what happened. And we're sticking to that story. You know, the thing this entire week for me, though, that I felt was really entertaining about this was all the memes that were coming out, right? Because all the time that it's taken for them to recount and all those types of things. One of my favorite ones was we see the meme from what is the Tarantino movie Django Unchained with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh,
and he
yeah.
has kind of like that face
Yes.
on, you know what I'm talking about?
The greatest meme
Yeah,
ever.
and it says like what was like Nevada or something like that recounting, and then it's basically a calculator upside down spelled boobs. Remember doing that?
It was boobies.
Yeah, that's how they were recounting all
Yes.
this stuff. I was dying, man. So, I mean, did you guys find any memes that you found hilarious throughout this entire time?
I
Did you?
used that one from Django Unchained. I took the face, the DiCaprio face, and I put it inside the America outline
I saw that.
during the counting.
Yeah.
Boy.
I love it. I love it. Anybody else see any funny ones?
Fuck. I'm sure I did. I know I blast off a bunch because I'm that dude in the friend group who's like, oh, you haven't seen a meme today? Well, I fucking got you.
Got you. I got you, boo.
I'm the meme dealer for people.
Trump's
so.
own tweets from years ago are good memes in and of themselves.
You don't have to
It's
edit
the gift
them.
that keeps on giving. He told Hillary that being a good loser is important
Oh.
last
Yeah,
time. And she did make the call and congratulated him.
Oh, well, there you go.
This one's actually pretty nice. No one actually can see it, but it's
Describe it for us, Hans.
It's Hans, go ahead and describe it.
Describe it.
I mean, I guess it's Trump dressed up like, what is that, David Bowie?
Oh, that's a Karen.
Oh,
like the
Karen. Oh,
haircut.
okay.
It looked like Justin
I want to
Bieber.
speak to the polls manager.
It's pretty fucking good.
Has anybody
good.
gone to the hairdresser and said, I want a Karen cut?
Ew, no.
Happened?
Oh.
I wonder if that's a thing. If you have post it in the comments, please.
Yeah, right. Please.
Like, we want to know.
We want to know.
And if nobody has, somebody has to.
Or
Right.
if you are a hairdresser, do you know how to make a Karen cut?
Hans, can we give you a Karen cut?
No fucking way.
Come on, bro. Let's do
No
it.
way,
It'd be
dude.
awesome. I would do a funny Karen cut for all of you guys.
I don't have long enough hair for it anyways.
you
And
have
dude,
the
all these
perfect
memes, like I'm super meme illiterate.
If we
like,
get- if
I
we-
still,
I respect
I'm
the
still,
honesty.
I just barely discovered like the cat eating the salad with like that screaming lady. I found that yesterday. Was like, oh, it's kind of funny.
I saw a great meme regarding that, by the way. It was...
Oh yeah, is that the one with like Trump and Giuliani's on one side and they're yelling at it, but it's like Nevada on the other side, just taking their time.
That's funny. That's not the one that I saw, but in regards to the cat one specifically, it was the two women yell. I don't even know what that clip's from, but two women yelling. They're like, "What'd you do with the cat?" And on the other side, it's Funny Man from Boondock Saints.
Oh my
Nice.
God, that's awesome.
Yes, it was
Fucking
amazing.
Rocco.
We need to bring back Keyboard Cat for a meme. If anybody has any ideas for memes, I might make it. If it's good, put it in the comments, and I will make
That'd be
it.
good.
There we go.
Well, you know what I realized, and so Hans, you and I have been friends for what, 5-6 years now, solid,
7,
seven-ish, give or take.
No one couldn't see it, but there was like a look of pain on his face recounting the
100%.
years.
I mean, it's tough. You guys all know it's tough to be friends with me.
I
just
try
you
not to
guys
think
remember.
about it.
Yeah.
Oh God, 7?
Christ, how
Has it been
long?
7?
Oh my God.
Oh man!
I just want you guys to look at Hans's phone right now, though.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit! I didn't even
Damn.
notice
They
that.
got a
is the thing,
fucking
we've been
Brendan
running-
Hold on.
Fraser blast from the
Is
past.
this an original
That's an
clamshell?
original. That's an original.
This isn't
clamshell,
one of the
bro.
new like. Oh,
It's
we're
been-
bringing clamshells
No.
back.
This is an original 2010-ish.
That is amazing,
And it works still.
Is that
And
what
it
is it?
still
Motorola?
works.
Well, my
Yeah, it's,
favorite, though-
Samsung.
Samsung
Yeah.
figures. Yeah,
Yeah,
Samsung
well,
makes
I
good
like it
phones.
that it's a 2010.
It's a flip phone for anyone who is not
Yeah.
who isn't understanding that yet.
It
And
is
it's
phenomenal.
And it's out of batteries.
it
too,
looks
so it's
fucking pristine too. I'm sure that thing has been through hell,
this
dropped
thing
like
has
a
been
dozen
through hell,
times,
yeah.
and it looks brand new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm an old school. Like
It's like,
you know, it's-
you realize like having that's like having a pager in the 90s, right? You look like a drug dealer.
it's like having a fucking pager now.
Well, when I saw you, I thought you looked like you're from Boondock Saints because you mentioned it, and then that popped in my head. Now, especially with that phone.
Yeah.
Now with that, yeah.
and,
it's a
and,
burner
and that's
for
a
sure.
good thing.
Yeah.
Who doesn't
Yeah.
want to look like they're from Boondock Saints?
It's true.
right?
Yeah.
It's not a
Right.
bad thing.
I'm
at
cool
all.
with
So, Chans, you've traveled a lot of the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, have you taken that phone with you everywhere?
Unfortunately, like American-made phones don't travel well because they don't have SIM cards. A lot of them. And so I actually had a shittier phone than this that I would travel with. It was an old Nokia.
Oh my God.
And that thing was like peeling and like it would pop apart every time I'd like grab it. And like the ringer had some sort of twang to it. So it'd be like, it'd sound like
It was dying
somebody
all the
pouring
time?
liquor into the speaker, like when it would ring. So that one was even more ghetto and fucked up. And
So how do you,
wonderful.
I mean, we're all, well, at least Sean and I are huge tech nerds. So it's like, for me to go
I mean,
from,
it raises several questions.
Okay.
I mean,
I can't wait to hear these.
okay, so like, what other old technology do you use on a regular basis? Like an abacus, maybe?
I still use I still use a wooden dildo and butt plug.
Okay, so are we talking like Poplar or
Fucking splinters all day.
or
No, Manzanita.
Beach? Oh, man,
Smoother.
ooh,
Baby apple.
that's classy.
I'm a high class bitch.
Oh my God.
But yeah, dude, the flip phone, like I just basically have an addictive personality and like it's basically me nannying myself. Like I know I'd be on the fucking
respect that.
So I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna use a flip phone. It's a novelty. It does what I need it to do.
So, are you more likely to call someone or text somebody?
Oh, definitely call because if you put an
Yeah.
emoji in your text, like it just comes in code.
Bricks
It
your
just looks
phone.
like swirls and like exclamation
your
points.
friends tell you.
It's like I'm doing
Right. Yeah, your
Do you
friends
know-
tell you just got hacked. I
Yeah, so
think.
like
Do you know what the ASCII code for an eggplant is now? Sorry, probably way over the head.
Oh, I know
somewhere.
the eggplant joke. Like, I'm a fan of salad. So, like,
Fan of salad. That's my favorite line right now. I'm a fan of salad.
Tossing it, eating it,
Yeah.
the whole nine. Right on.
Well, Gary doesn't do that. We know that already.
Yeah, we tried.
no, I don't.
We tried before he hit record. He was just like, no, I don't care how I'm
I
dressed.
don't care. Jesus.
I'm gonna get canceled for that.
Oh, that's the one.
That's the one.
That's
Yeah,
the
all the
one.
things that you said, that's the
thing.
one.
That's the thing that's gonna get me canceled right there.
Well, I mean,
Sean off the fucking show.
That's what it's gonna be like. Some Karen.
there it is.
I want to talk to
you're Gary.
Oh,
Fuck.
Damn it. So I was going through all the wonderful memes this week. One of the funniest ones was actually a TikTok I saw, and it was basically a girl filming her parents. They're all sitting down on the couch, and they're all sitting there going through paperwork or whatever. And she goes, so I met a guy, and I'm really liking him, and
I like Gary's woman
I think
voice.
I think I'm going to go see him again this weekend. The parents are like, oh, okay, nice. Okay. What is he like? She's like, well, he has a really great relationship with God. He goes to church sometimes. And, well, he has had some sexual assault allegations. And the parents literally are just like, what? Are you really, you can't go out with this guy? It's like, well, I mean, they're just allegations. Like, well, yeah, they're allegations, but I mean, even the allegations can be truth. You know, you can't just go out and be with a guy like that. He's like, well, you know, he's just a really nice guy. And I think, you know, I really feel for the guy. But there was also, I was looking through his tweets, and it was like some racist comments way back when or whatnot. No, some are recent too. But they're like, wait. You mean to tell me that you want to go see a guy that has sexual assault allegations? He has racist tweets going on, and it's saying, he's like, yeah, I mean, well, I figured if you
I know where this
guys
is going.
right, I figure if you guys can have a president like that, why can't I date a guy like that? And they're all like,
But did they change their mind?
that's the best part. They didn't change their mind. The parents automatically flip back over and go like, okay, we get it.
I guess you can go get raped.
They even put
In that case.
in that case, he's a wonderful human being.
Well,
Does
he grabs you
great
by the
things for
pussy.
the economy.
There's another one where the girl says she's crying and she's got a MAGA hat on. She's saying, someone hit my dad for no reason just because he was a Trump supporter. And then she takes it off. She goes, and Bop, I do it again.
Oh, nice. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if I really cared one way over the other. I thought very diligently whether I wanted to vote for Kanye West, in all honesty. I was just like, well, at least
The
he's
birthday
going to put
party?
I think he's going to put good music in, I think. You know what I mean? At least the White House be bumping.
I love the fact that he conceded after he only got like 60,000 votes.
Yeah.
I think he conceded to Biden. It was just like, okay, here's the thing.
Can I give
feel
all my
like
votes to
you
him?
may win, so I'm just gonna like not compete more. But Trump, who do you think is gonna win? Kanye, shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
go home. No one likes you anymore.
There was a bit of me, though. There was a small part of me that was thinking, you know what? We live in a very unique time. He could actually
That's not a good thing.
I don't know. I just look at this whole entire situation as like really good reality TV at this point.
Hold on. Here, Hans, you traveled. Like, what does most of the world think of the United States?
In what respect?
How about do they have respect?
It really depends. Like, it depends on where you are. I've lived in Europe and I've lived in Asia and I've traveled a lot of Africa. I've encountered a lot of pretty radically different viewpoints. Like a lot of people in Central Asia. I was in the Peace Corps in Turkmenistan, which is, I know it's a weird place.
Sounds like you're just combining 3 other places.
Yeah.
And making up a new place.
I met a dude when I was there.
I don't believe it.
This guy when I came home on break, and he was convinced that I had gotten it wrong and that I was actually confusing Turkey with Afghanistan. And I was like, dude, no. Bro.
I've lived here, asshole.
I lived here, asshole.
Yeah, how dare you?
But like, they think like most things that America does, like is golden, basically. Like, oh,
Really?
you know, yeah,
but
and their dreams
but
to get there and
but
whatever.
like Benny Hill show golden, right?
Literally, that people
Like
think the
entertainment.
streets are paved. Some people think the streets are paved with money, like fucking
Jesus.
crazy. But then you'll meet other people who, like, I've definitely met people. A lot. I lived in Czech Republic for 8 years, and a lot of them. Maybe they admire there's a little more upward mobility if you're in the right positions here, but they're pretty comfortable with what they've got. Like, you don't meet a lot of people trying to like bust down the door of America, like over there. Like, they're not living like super high baller lifestyles, but they've got the education and the healthcare thing on lock. And even though the racism is pretty bad there, it never turns violent, and you can take public transportation everywhere. So there's something to answer your question or to answer yours. Basically what I found is like, America isn't the worst country in the world by a long shot, but it's also not the best country in the world by a long shot.
Right.
Like, if you can judge, I mean, I know those are stupid standards, but like, of all the opinions and of all the experiences I've had, like, for me, basically what I've come to realize is America is just kind of a medium bitch.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing it
Shots
doesn't want to be
fired.
called. It's just kind of a medium bitch.
Right. We want to be better, but we're not.
I do love the fact that all of us were listening so intently. That's the first time this has happened.
Yeah, we all
We're like, this is actually very interesting.
We just interrupt each other.
Yeah, usually we're just talking over each other. We're like, no, this is actually very
which is actually what we all just did just now.
Well, I work with a lot of artists, freelancers around the world, and when Obama was president, was when I started doing that, and a lot of them wanted to move here. They were constantly asking, hey, you can come stay at my country if you want, suggesting maybe they could stay over here if they wanted. They wanted to come here and look for jobs, and all of them did. And then after Trump became president, they felt unwelcome. They all ended up going to like Italy, Europe, London. Canada was a big one. But yeah, all the ones that said they were going to leave their country, a lot of them left. And almost none of them came here, maybe a couple out of a few dozen, but the few dozen went to, the countries that I mentioned.
But did they not come here because they wouldn't let them come here though?
Well, it's hard to get a work visa in America before, and then after it's even harder.
Like the worst, right?
You can't. It became impossible, and they felt unwelcome. They didn't want to feel unwelcome.
Unless you're from Slovene, by the way, which is where Melania is from. So
Slovenia.
Yes.
Did you call it Slovene?
Yeah.
I thought it was Slovenia, like Slovenia.
Tomato at this point. I got a buddy of mine that lived there.
What happens when we get the one listener who is like, this motherfucker doesn't even know where I'm from? How dare you?
All right. If I'm wrong, I apologize. And if I'm right, fuck you.
Hey,
if Gary's wrong, please correct him in the comments.
Always.
Like harshly.
Let him know and don't be kind.
Yeah, thumbs down, please. Good friend of mine, he ended up meeting a Slovenian. He has a Slovenian wife. He lived in Slovene for 8 years.
Is it
or something
Slovenian or Slovenian?
You know what? I think we're just going to go. I'm going to let him go with it.
Thank you. Just let me be, please.
Listen,
It's Slovenian.
Every time Gary's wrong,
No, I trust Hans. Hans feels like
What is it?
Slovenian.
Slovenian.
You can say Slovenian. More people say Slovenian, and then Slovene is like.
It's like the redneck
It's
version.
like Slovene would be like if you call somebody a Slovene, like.
Okay.
But it's like slightly. I wouldn't call it like a pejorative, but it's like kind of just a clipping of the term. Slovenian is universal.
Slang.
Slovenian. Fine.
Slovenian.
I don't know why you pointed at me.
Because you're giving me the most shit, by the way. Because I'm just.
How is that different from any day?
No. We're hoping that people listening will give you the most shit. So remember to timestamp where he's wrong and correct him. Thank you.
Anyway, so he's been trying to get his wife over here. He's an American. He has kids over there. She's a citizen over there, right? So he's been trying to get him back over here. And years, dude, years. She was trying to get her green card or just like a visa to get here. And then all of a sudden, right when Trump became president, everybody from there was like, oh, you're good to go. And now they're here. And it worked out great for him, but it happened so fast as soon as he came in office, which I thought was interesting. So, I mean,
what do they call that? Shadow nerfing going on or shadow buffs? And they do like
shadow fingering. That sounds like something you did when you were in high school to like a girl.
No, it's like game.
hey, honey.
It's a game update term where they add something or take something away in a game update and they don't say anything about it. It's stealth nerf, stealth nerfing or stealth buffing. Yeah, that's what that is. Nerd. So he stealth nerfed everyone else and then stealth buffed Slovenians.
his own lady, the first lady's space.
Yeah, there you go.
In Australia, they actually look up to Britain in Australia, but America they think is like the cool, like rebellious cousin or something of England.
Interesting.
Really?
When they think of us, they think of porn because a lot of it comes from here.
Okay.
And and Tarantino movies.
Well, yeah.
How are those the two?
Are those kind of
you're
the same
American.
thing?
I love your pornos and Tarantino.
Your Tarantino
the
porn is
accent.
very good.
It's all our accent on those things.
Grindhouse or Grindhouse? Hey!
I mean, take it for how you want it, I suppose.
And then they always ask 2 questions a lot. Do you have a gun? It was one common question. I would say no. And they said, that's crazy. That I thought it was crazier that I didn't have one.
Oh my God.
And being here. And then the other question was, do you like rugby or football better? And I would say, I don't care because I don't watch either of them.
And they just walk away from you.
And every
But
Australian
actually,
girl
this
American
walked away.
You're like, I know how to
But
shut
actually,
down this conversation.
rugby is actually a little cooler now that I've looked at it.
It is pretty cool.
It's fun.
pretty hardcore.
Both of them are fun.
I'm
to
not even a
watch.
sports person, except when those sports teams are sportsing on the TV, where they sports at each other.
When they
Go
sports
sports.
at each other.
Yeah, go
It's the same,
sports.
but without pads. That's the difference.
It's not the same.
I don't know.
It's
I would
not
say,
the same.
Like compared to football?
Yeah, it's not the same as
What
football.
kind of football? Was it FU football or FOO?
FOO.
Okay. Yeah, I would
Which one
say
are you talking
football,
about?
not football.
You're talking
Well, no,
about
that would be
football
that'd be up to the
Americana, or,
Australians if they were talking about like soccer or rugby. Like which one's
They're
more
talking about
intense?
like American
Okay.
football,
pads
right?
football.
Yeah.
versus-
Yeah, rugby's way more intense. Like what the hell?
Yeah, holy crap. Yeah.
What's the conversation here? What are you talking about, Gary?
Who's on more
what's
steroids? That's
tougher?
the
Yeah,
question.
fucking rugby. I don't know. They savagely punch each other in the face just for funsies.
Well, have you played football?
It's like
Yeah, I
if
can play
American
football.
football was hockey.
Weak.
We have pads and helmets and things to protect us. They're running each other like who's gonna die.
Yeah,
That's
I think
the
they might wear like a leather
mentality.
face mask or something just to make them look
it's
scarier.
relative in my opinion.
Right?
I
I
played
don't know.
both. I played rugby and I played
No.
football.
You're
It's all
also a
relative.
fucking brick shithouse. Like,
I
it's
was-
relative because
me
you're gonna
either. I'm
murder
just-
everyone else.
Well, thank you.
No, what would be best is Americans playing their version of rugby.
Yeah.
Because they'd be bigger and scarier.
I don't know, man. There's some rugby players that are just ridiculous.
Yeah, there are.
There's
They
a-
have the
ridiculously.
they have some big white boys over there, and they have the Maoris.
The Maori, yeah, and the Tongans.
Maoris,
Tongans,
Jesus.
yeah.
The
Those-
Tongans are just giant. I'm like, what do you feed these kids?
So there's a security guard over at the aquarium in Long Beach, and he goes to the All Dubliner quite frequently, and I go there as well. But he's like 6'5". He's from
Norway.
no shit. It's in England. It's like begins with a W. It's
Wales?
small. Yes, he's Welsh. That's what he is. But he's like 6'6" and just fucking massive.
Oh, Jesus.
And he's like 60 years old.
60.
And he would still beat the fuck out of every person in this room handily.
take it.
But
I'd
he
give
came
him
over here
one
and
for
played
his money.
rugby.
And
he was
never
like-
underestimate old men.
No, and he
Hell
he
yeah.
came over here to play rugby at I think USC Long Beach or whatever the fuck the college's name is. And we asked him, I was like, is rugby here harder? And he's like, no, you guys are pussies. And I was like, all right, that about sums it up because he did not care. He's like, yeah, I came over here as a fucking rock star. Like he was bigger than everybody, stronger than everybody, and they just played more aggressive overseas, apparently.
I don't know, man. I mean, I feel if you're watching the game pound for pound, rugby does look a lot more violent.
Yeah.
But I do feel it's rough on both ends because in rugby, when you're playing, you're not getting a full like 20-yard sprint a lot of times. No, dude. When you watch that game, right, like majority of the time, unless you get a good kickoff across the field, you're probably getting like a 5-yard to maximum 10-yard sprint up before somebody tackles you or what have you. Football, fuck, dude, you literally have almost a 20-yard full sprint at people before you nail them.
I
Think
wouldn't
about
say all the
kickoff.
time. Yeah, kickoff. You just said
Kickoffs.
kickoff for like rugby too. What's the argument here? Because there's breaks, you have to get a play, you have to set everything up.
Sure. I'm just saying that the game, it feels closer a lot of times. I mean, the game of football has shifted more to passing than it used to be. It used to be more of a like, trench warfare. But I feel like if you're looking at it pound for pound, they're both violent as fuck.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
I've had friends have their eyeballs poked out, fingers broken, all types of shit. You know what I
That's
mean?
fun.
Regardless of pads or not. You know what I mean? So I'm defending football because I played it for so goddamn long.
No, that's true.
You know
I
what
get it.
mean? So,
You're wrong,
either
but,
way-
that's okay.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, but does violence qualify it? I mean,
I think
In America,
strategy
absolutely.
be the qualifying element?
I think America's become the new Roman Coliseum. That's kind of what we view.
exactly right.
Depends. Yeah, well, it depends. Yeah.
Coming back to the conversation about like other countries looking at us as awesome or anything like that. My wife and I were traveling Japan and we met some New Zealanders at a bar.
Kiwis.
Look, Kiwis, exactly. And they're all like, "Hey, you American?" And we're like, yeah, we're American. You guys suck.
I'm not gonna lie, that was a very good accent for when you said you guys American. That was really good.
Thank you.
I've met a couple
What
Kiwis.
year was that?
Right after he got elected.
It's American.
Just about right after he got
American.
elected.
If the key,
American,
American. It's the E.
The E's.
American.
But we ended up hanging out with them for quite some time, and they were pretty fun.
Well, that's just you. You literally make friends with
make
people
friends
who
with
yell at
everybody.
you aggressively.
Yeah.
And you're like, nah, this is my people.
I'm like, oh, really? You hurt my feelings a little bit. You want to hang out and be my best friends? I mean, that's what everybody at this fucking table, by the way.
This is true.
I don't know how you guys feel. Are you guys happy? You guys sad? You guys don't give two shits about the results of what's going on? David, I feel like you actually have a lot of
I have a
skin in the game.
I have a
in
political
this.
podcast, the Dirt Podcast, and I keep up on politics.
Shameless
I try to
plug.
keep it out of work and stuff like that, where it's not, people aren't interested. But I feel good about it. I wasn't sure where I was going to go. I lost my confidence in predicting things because I really didn't think it would happen the first time.
Yeah.
So now I have a little bit of confidence back. I've been predicting things lately, and it's been happening.
I'm just sad that the season's over now. the season.
But to be honest,
Good episodes.
Biden's not my favorite. So like,
I think that's been a universal thing though. Like everyone's like, these aren't the two best candidates.
Right.
we have 4 years.
I think these are the two worst
look into more
candidates
things.
we've had.
Yeah. I had such a hard time.
Sorry,
too.
no, I think Hillary was worse than Biden. So, but
I think so.
Kamala makes up the difference.
Yeah.
Makes
So
up the difference. Okay, one good thing is now that anybody who has daughters, whether they have brown, any color white daughters, they can say you can get in the Oval Office without just being first lady.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing for all the people with daughters.
yeah, I mean, points for that for sure. Absolutely.
I'm going to sound like I guess this is the theme of this show. I sound like an idiot today, but I had a hard time choosing who to vote for. And I was like, I literally just wrote in the box at the bottom, next time, give us somebody better.
Nice.
And check
You're a
that
good
out.
I respect the honesty.
I just I don't know. I mean, we live in California, right? So you know which way it's going to lean regardless. I don't know. I had a hard time.
I guess that really
You know?
is the only comment section on the ballot,
On the
isn't
ballot,
it?
exactly.
That's the only place you can really truly express how you feel about what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, some people get mad when people protest vote, and I've done that before because I can't choose. I don't judge anybody badly for protest. I understand protest votes.
course.
What do you mean by protest voting?
Oh, voting for somebody who's not actually on the. I won one year. My protest vote was Bill Gates.
See, that's just that you were asking about other countries and like how they view America. Like there's a few countries I know in Spain, I took a political science class and I learned about this process that they do in certain Latin American countries. Spain isn't a Latin American country, but it's called voting blank. And it's different from a protest vote in the sense that actually it is a true protest vote because you're voting to say that you didn't like any of the political candidates
It's abstention.
offered. Yeah, exactly. And they count that in the voting percentage. So they'll
That's
say,
great.
And I think that should be
Yeah,
a
they
part of
should do
any
that.
fundamental
That's
democracy.
very
is-
interesting.
That's a good
the
idea.
Candidates
I like
see
that
that
idea.
and they go, 35% of the country said middle fingers across the board.
See,
And so, and they'll see that and go, we should step our game
should
up,
figure
start
this
listening
out.
to the people a little more so that we can steal some of that and have a chance at winning. I mean, it encourages political parties and the candidates they put forward to be better representative
And
of
also,
the people.
I think that combined with ranked voting should be good. And if somebody doesn't know, ranked voting
Ranked.
is where you pick your first, second, and third choice.
yes, I agree.
You can put I hate everybody as the first choice, and then second and third people that are on the ballot.
Or just you get 5 votes instead of 1, and you can split them among candidates.
Ooh, that
I feel like that would get complicated for too many people, only because I think most America is really dumb. They'd be like, I have 5. I don't know what to do with that.
listeners,
No, I
we
think
feel
they can
really
handle
bad for
5
you.
versus 1.
well, I mean, I totally agree with you, Matt. I think it's mostly the people voting are what I tend to call the filthy writhing masses. And
I think we just named our listeners.
our fan base is the filthy writhing masses.
Yeah, filthy writing.
I think that an alternative that would be
FRP.
kind of along a couple of the lines that I've heard here would be being able to vote yes or no for either candidate or for both. Like every candidate that's available, you give a yay or a nay on them.
Right.
That way you can see when there's negative responses to people. And you can vote no for everybody. You can vote yes for these 3 people or no for those, or whatever. But I think that the ability to get negative results would be pretty good in a lot of cases, because then we have an option where if whoever gets the highest positive results gets the presidency, and if nobody gets a positive result and everyone's in the negative, you just find new people and we do a new election.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting what Hans said, though. I do like the idea of like, they're talking about Spain and Latin American cultures, is the idea that the people have more of a voice. This is like their representation, which is much better.
That's what it's supposed to be.
I just don't think people don't do well when they have too many options. Like if they had the ability to do 5, I don't think they'd want to come in and be like, well,
I
fuck.
disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree.
I don't give a shit.
I disagree because think about it this way, okay? There's a lot of options on Amazon, and people do a lot of fucking research.
But they
to buy
go
the
in
best
for
thing.
one choice. It's like they kind of know what they want.
Kind of. They know what they're looking for. They know what they need, right? As an individual. So they're going to look at a bunch of different options to find the thing that fits, the thing that hits their value structure. You know what I mean? But you're giving them an opportunity to look at it in a little bit more
But
detail
that
by
still
giving
is
them
different
other
because you're giving
options.
them, because you're choosing one in the end instead of being like, I can choose 5 things, kind of
get it.
ranking
Yeah,
system.
I mean,
but
I think that it would end up being like taboo to not give all 5 votes to like the popular candidate that everybody's pushing for.
I think we're just lazy and we like simplicity.
It'd be another version of what I call anti-voting, where you just vote for the other guy because he's less bad, or the other person because they're not as evil. The lesser evil, you just give it to them without even knowing what they stand for or anything.
So I'm guessing you guys would be against. In some countries, it's illegal to not vote. Like you'll get fined.
That's interesting.
That's a bit aggressive.
Yeah. One time I got in an argument with the guy who was an Australian. He got really mad. He's like, "We fight for you guys to vote. So people have to vote. You're disrespecting the vets to not vote." I'm like, you can't get mad at us because our people fought for us. Like our soldiers fought for us to vote or not vote. Your soldiers fought for you to have to vote.
Interesting. I mean, to that point, though, I was curious for your statement, Hans, is like, I'm an idiot for a lot of this, like global government and stuff like that. The specific instance that you're talking
I'm
about.
not an expert either.
Well, you probably know more than any of us at the table.
You have some insights.
But do they have like electoral college and that type of structure too? Or is it just
Electoral college, in my experience, has been very hard for people outside of America to understand. I think inside America as well.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, it's general. In Europe where I lived, Turkmenistan was basically just a totalitarian dictatorship. So I've experienced this spectrum of, I don't even want to call it a spectrum, but just the different dimensions of government. Most people, at least in Europe that I met, had a hard time understanding a system that wasn't parliamentary too.
Yeah, because I think for us, that's the hardest part for me is knowing like our government, we like our vote, everybody says your vote counts, it counts. But also in a lot of ways, it kind of doesn't, just the way our system works, right? And so I like the general, 1-to-1 vote. Like if this was like American Idol, it'd be awesome. You know what I mean? But then again, at the same time, I understand the necessity of our electoral college, because it's kind of saving us from ourselves. Because again, to Matt's point, we're kind of idiots.
That was the idea. That was the idea behind the electoral college.
Exactly.
To save us from ourselves.
Save us from ourselves. Exactly. Right. But then in some weird way, as we progress through time,
it also serves for checks and balances though, because you got to remember the United States is that it is a union of separate states. We're effectively like little nations in and of ourselves. We have a governing body that looks over all those little nations. And if we didn't have an electoral college, what would happen is a couple of states would effectively...
Like Texas and California and
and New York would effectively choose every election. We would be, who do we want for president? New York, what do you think? That guy? Okay, cool. That's the one.
Yeah.
And that would be it because there's so few, like those two states make up like most of America. In California alone, we have a higher population than all of Canada.
Yeah.
So, just put that in perspective when you think about how many people we have.
And Canada's huge.
Yeah, though there's a lot of unlivable space there.
I just thought about it and I was like, but Canada's big though.
Gary just had a light bulb
just
crack
now
up
realize
over his
that?
head.
Have you not seen a fucking map?
Not in a long time.
America's got a big hat, man.
Well, and a lot of people have been leaving California because of a lot of stuff happening in California.
There's a hilarious...
Goodbye, you little shit.
So we're spreading blue people outside.
There's a hilarious
everywhere.
bumper sticker going around Nevada right now. My girlfriend saw it when she was back home. No, not Nevada, Arizona. I'm sorry. Arizona, like someone was driving their fucking, probably a Hummer or whatever, but it had a sticker that said, "Don't California my Arizona." That's funny.
That's some
Are you
redneck
fucking kidding me?
Okay. I think that's hilarious. My brother probably needs that sticker.
I get it, but I was like, you fucking tool.
I agree,
Yeah.
but that's some redneck shit.
But here's the irony. I'm sure we all kind of watched parts of the election as it's, being publicized and stuff. The thing that I was like, holy crap, is that I didn't know that Arizona went to a blue state.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I think they elected a blue governor as well.
Yeah. And now I was just like,
crazy.
It's like the first time in like 20 some years. Or is it more than that?
guess from my understanding, and again, tell me if I'm wrong or not, but they ended up voting Obama during his election. So he was still in the blue.
I thought it was red.
Somebody said that, so I didn't fact check it.
Yeah.
I don't fact check. Jesus fucking Christ.
I went to Arizona a couple of months ago and it seemed very red at the time, the area that I was in. So
Okay.
I was actually surprised.
That's what I was saying because my brother is in Arizona.
It's probably like a lot of
He's
closet
very Republican.
blue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So quick lightning round, guys. You happy with the results? Give two shits about the results.
I'm happy.
Happy? David?
Ultimately happy.
Ultimately? Sean?
Pensive.
Pensive.
I'm trying to start a purple party. That's blue and red put together. Centrist.
Centrist.
I have 5 people so far.
Maybe if we're doing this podcast 4 years from now, we'll give you a good run for.
All right. I made a flag and before I actually made the platform.
All
Is it
right.
just a purple flag? Please tell me it's just a solid
This is just
color.
an excuse for you to do some design work.
It should just be a solid purple flag. And when we're using an ape or a gorilla as like the mascot, because that's cooler
Yes.
than a donkey.
Joe Rogan's going to be your guys'
Right, why not?
spokesperson.
Right.
I was gonna say, but why not do like some kind of weird like mutant animal that like is a bunch of different animals, like a Pegasus or something,
Somebody just
Pegasus.
said,
It's not like a mutant animal,
like
it's
a
just like-
griffin.
well, when we said purple, we just thought of grape ape and
Chimera.
Oh yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah,
80s kids.
the gorilla party.
Yeah, gorilla party.
Oof.
Well, you got my vote.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Sometimes I just sit and ponder life and I think, whatever. How long have I been sitting here? Am I really just pondering time? Whatever. But then it's me sitting here in this space. Am I really just pondering space? Whatever. Whatever cologne.
Available at all Walgreens or whatever.
All right, so what's up, y'all? I'm Hans, as Gary introduced me earlier, and I just came out with a book of poetry called The Heart That Beats, and I'm going to read a poem that a lot of people have liked that have read my book, and it's about my experience growing up half Mexican, half German as a kid in a pretty much all-white town. And the poem is called A Spick Like Me. When I was a kid, I chilled with my gramps. He was an old-school spick with tequila in his veins and white hair. He used to walk me to the moon on his shoulders, telling stories of Juarez bootleggers, El Paso murders, and pretty girls with roses for ears. He spoke Spanish. I did too. He spread chili on his pancakes. I did too. At the breakfast table we sat, 6 and 66, sipping near beer and cracking dirty chokes. I was his muchacho alegre. At the schoolyard, that all changed. Kids saw my tan skin, heard my accent. They asked my name. Why, it's Johann Klaus Fellmanstein, I said. Ike. The gravel turned hot with laughter. Johann, they said, but don't you speak Spanish? I mean, what kind of spick are you? I asked my daddy that night. His belly rolled and his beard lit up as he said, the kind with a German name. After that, I started seeing things like Nazis in my bedroom smoking cigarettes, Einstein's face in my cereal bowl. When I hit the piñata, it burst into sauerkraut. When I sipped my horchata, it churned into schnapps. I walked around the playground like a freak on stilts, poncho on one shoulder, lederhosen strap on the other. One day while getting lit into, I made a friend. He was a black kid, a nigger like me. He told me, stiffen up. Don't let him call you spick. I said, thanks for that. He said, no problem, my nigga. From then on, I walked with a limp, put candy in my grin and braided my hair. When fools tried to test me, I showed them a nigga pimp, slapped them across the jaw, made they face raw, but still I couldn't shake them. I was more spick than ever, gliding up the block with zebra-painted skin. I tried to hide in others, but nothing seemed to work. The Asians saw a Persian. The Persians saw a Turk. When all was lost, I grabbed a bottle, put it to my lips and chugged. What came out was puke, piss, and shit. After that came words. I put them on the page to sew myself together. Now I sit before you, reading what I wrote. You see the tan, you see the skin, you see the kraut, you see the grin, the pimp, the clothes, the limp, the nose, all tacked together, a sombrero at my back. Homie, you ain't never seen a spick like me.
Dude.
That's the end.
Fucking awesome, man. Thank you for reading
Yeah,
that,
no
Hans,
problem.
man. I really appreciate that, man. I think Yeah.
Wow.
It's great, dude. It's great, man. Hans and I, we've known each other for up to almost 7 years now. And I'm grateful that you do that.
Thanks,
what
man. I
mean?
appreciate that.
really, really am. I think it's a wonderful contribution to whoever gets to read it, in all honesty.
I appreciate that, my man.
I think looking at art, right? We're all kind of creative in our own ways. We're all kind of doing our thing. I mean, for you, Hans, like, what got you to where you are today? As a writer, how many books have you written?
I've written 2 full-length novels. Can I plug them?
Yeah,
The first
yeah,
one is
please,
called Chuck Life's a Trip. It's about a trip I took around the world with my childhood buddies in 2006. It was pretty life-changing. And the second one is called Saving Jahan, which was about my time in Turkmenistan as a Peace Corps volunteer and working with a woman who, her dream was to get out of the country. And I was basically an alcoholic and a fuck up. And she was like helping her was like the one good thing that I did, or the one important thing that I feel like I did there. And then this final book is The Heart That Beats. It's a collection of poetry.
So how many poems have you written? How many are in this book?
So in this book, there's 71 poems. Well, if you include the intro, 72, which is a poem of sorts. And it probably took those poems are written over a 6-year period. And in that 6-year period, I probably wrote in excess of maybe 3,000 poems. And a lot of them were absolutely the worst shit anyone's ever put down on a page. Like tremendously terrible shit. And I had boiled it down to about, I think it was 179 poems. And that took probably about 6 months of just sifting through just cat turds in the litter box. And then I gave it to an editor that I found. And this guy was fucking legit. And he was like, nah, bro, you're going to need to really cut this down because even some of these are just garbage. And I was like, okay, touche. Why is that? He gave me the reasons. All right. And so we were able to boil it down to 71 poems, 72. And so, yeah, it's a dirty process and it's a humbling one, man.
Yeah,
But
dude.
when you get people that are like, hey, each one of those kind of hit a different angle. It's like,
Yeah, I
cool.
look forward to hearing more because it kind of maybe because I haven't read enough, but it kind of made me think of like Henry Rollins. It's like raw and gritty and a unique perspective, though. So it kind of reminded me of that, and I own those books, so I look forward to hearing more.
Cool, man.
Yeah, it's a little Bukowski, right? A little Henry Rollins. I don't know if that's the vibe or the influences.
Bukowski's
And so-
I was about to say,
my
there's
favorite
definitely
writer.
Bukowski
Yeah,
effects, just with the realism, like just the no holds barred. Like you're gonna hear it. I don't really care what you think.
It's visceral.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think being a creative is extremely difficult, right? Because I think you're consistently balancing like this, and I hate using this term, but I don't have a better one to fill in, but it's like the passion versus like the living, right? So, right? Like I know for myself, I've gone through so much turmoil, like inner fucking dialogue, inner demons, all those things in order to kind of like keep fueling the craft. And I find the uphill battle is like giving yourself an opportunity to do the thing that may or may not make a living while doing the thing that's making you a living. You get what I'm saying? Just this last week, I ended up boning out of a job. This is a good job, right? Like it was a great job. But I was realizing like the work that I was doing was like just sucking the life out of me. And I'm happy now because I was able to just be like, being open to other opportunity or other possibilities. But at the same time, it's like, now I'm like, well, fuck, what am I going to do for money? And those types of things are really difficult. So how do you guys like manage? What do you guys do on a day-to-day for money versus fueling the passion?
I have an interesting recent revelation on this, and it came from I was watching a video on stocks, and this guy was saying you should own your time. If you have enough money, you own your time. It's called fuck you money, where you can say fuck you to a job.
Yeah.
This is the exact thing I talked about in the pilot podcast. It was John Goodman's speech about fuck you money. Yeah, as a whole thing, he's like, you just pay off your house, have enough put away. Boss doesn't want you don't work for your boss. Fuck you. Like it's just literally you come from a position of fuck you.
That's the goal, but like a secondary goal can be the guy was talking about owning your own time. He's having a bunch of money allows you to own your own time if you're doing stocks. You don't have to spend all your time working. But for an artist, we like to spend a lot of time working on what we're doing, working on our projects, and bringing it to fruition, giving birth to them, and And that takes a lot of time. So I consider, of course, I'm trying to get the money. And also, though, you're owning your own time if you're doing what you want to do. If you want to work on your project and it's making money, or even if you want to work on somebody else's project, if you actually want to and you enjoy it, you are on some level owning your time. Mm-hmm. So there's two ways to own your time, I guess, and working on trying to do both.
Yeah, that's been my whole journey right now. It's like my wife's dad is very financial conscious, those types of things. And I've always been interested in art in general. And he's just like, well, how are you gonna make money doing that? How are you gonna blah, blah, blah doing that? So I'm like, fuck, I don't know, man. I think at the end of the day, like I've been very fortunate to find jobs that allowed me to kind of have like a living in some form of capacity. But then at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, right? Like I see something different. And this is just the means, you know what I mean? So I've worked really hard to kind of design my life so that I can do both uninhibited.
I have not been as fortunate. I have worked at FedEx, putting fucking boxes in trucks at 2 a.m. to try to make money. That was a joy, let me tell you. And I was a third party at a casino, bicycle, which wasn't a bad job by all means. It was terrible hours. I was working 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. So just your constant jet lag. It sucked. I worked health insurance for State Farm for this man who I will not name, but he was a scuzzy piece of shit.
What State Farm was it there?
It was here. It was up in oh shit. I can't even think of the street now. It's like 30 minutes away. His last name is the opposite of big. So if anyone can figure that out, congratulations. But I just did not enjoy it. He really pushed things.
Just remind everybody what you do now.
And now
writing scripts, right?
I do write scripts. I got hired by a guy in the UK to write a feature for him. So, it's $20K. And then on the back end's 15. He actually gave me a few points too. So when it gets to fruition, so that was really good.
Good, man.
But I mean, if you really feel like you're passionate about something, you have to go for it.
It's nice because like where we're all at in our careers is like, we've been hustling. I think every one of you guys at this table, we're all just like super creative guys. I mean, or I wouldn't be hanging out with you. No offense to anybody else, but I really enjoy the conversations that we have. We've all just been grinding. Right?
You have to be ingenuitive. That's a big part that I didn't realize about being an artist and staying an artist is, finding gaps and holes where you can be useful, staying useful at a studio so you don't get laid off. There's a big turnaround rate a lot of times.
Yeah, right.
Finding out a lot of things that you're doing sometimes the market can get flooded. Mm-hmm. So you either have to be the best nowadays with a lot of likes on your Instagram and stuff to prove it.
It's funny too, is I realized like I've had a bunch of jobs myself that you don't care about, and in some weird way, I feel like I've self-sabotaged the actual thing I've been wanting to do for a long time, and it took a lot of therapy to kind of get to that place.
Nothing wrong with therapy.
Right.
FYI, just throw that out there.
Right. Because I'm like, what the fuck is in my way? You know what I mean? And I think for myself, I pinged a lot of different areas, right? Like I've started a lot of different businesses. I started a lot of different bullshit. And at the end of it, I'm always kind of being like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm always coming back to the writing. I'm always coming back to being, a filmmaker or whatever.
You just kind of said, what's in your way? 9 times out of 10. We are the things that are in our way. 100%. We either talk ourselves out of it or we downplay ourselves. Like that is, most creative people have the hardest times with like battling themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Around a lot of people that are not artists, I feel unique, but around artists, you're just like all the other ones. And there's a lot of bad traits that come with it. And so that's good to see it, but also bad to see it. You're like, oh crap. A lot of times we're bad at math, bad at money, waste time, put stuff off.
I mean, that's an interesting sentiment, like being around all of you guys.
I think a big thing in creatives.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, being around you guys though, it's like, I still feel unique, but I feel more accepted being around all of you guys.
Well, you're not. I'm just kidding.
Well, I think that I think we all kind of, one good thing about this particular group is that we all kind of specialize in a different realm of creative work. So we're all kind of peers in a way, because I think in a perfect situation, the bunch of us could make up a studio of people who all have a strength, rather than being part of a fleet of, for instance, David, all artists, or all sketch artists, or all script writers. Matt, we all have our own way to shine in this particular group, which is kind of nice, because here we can kind of feel safe in that regard. Which but like you say, in a situation where you're just one of many, it's really hard to find value in your own work, because we're all so critical of ourselves. And then we end up holding back out of that fear, and then we don't push ourselves unless we become very good self-motivators, we don't push ourselves far enough to succeed.
What you had mentioned reminded me of another thing is I think a big part of being an artist and staying an artist and being, somewhat successful is criticism. Like we have to be our own worst critic a lot, and we got to take a lot of criticism from other people.
Well, I think that's what,
that's the
Hans was talking about earlier when he had that editor. Like, that's another big thing too, is like, it's not only the self-doubt that, artists have, but also like there's a sense.
You got to get good at taking it.
Well, yeah, but there's also a sense of like everything that we create, more or less, like it's really hard. We're like, no, this is fucking great. Like you need that outside perspective to come in and be like, hey.
Well, there's often a vision from people outside of art seeing, going, oh, you guys are lucky you get to do that.
The romanticized idea
it's like,
of it all.
Sometimes I feed into that just to keep that, it's like, oh, I'll let them keep thinking that. And then sometimes because it's almost kind of useless to tell them otherwise. And then they get sad. It's like, oh, I'll let them be happy and tell them, oh yeah, it's super easy. And
it's work though, right? Like
it's totally work.
Yeah, it's work.
Definitely, yeah.
I think a lot of them couldn't do it even if they had skill.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other moving parts to it.
Well, it's even interesting too, like, dealing with all this pandemic stuff going on right now. Like, at least David, for us, right? We've been freelancers for fucking how long, right? So there was really no skip for me in like my work-life balance. And what I'm realizing when I'm working with other people, they're like, how the hell did you do this for so long? And I'm like, it's just the work, I guess. I don't know. I didn't think about it, because now they're feeling like, how do I deal with my day, right? Because when you're waking up, going to a place of work, like you're in the doors, you sit down, this is work, you leave it behind. When you're doing it from home, there's so much more discipline that you have to instill to be able to like actually do that thing. So I've heard a lot of horror stories of people trying to figure out how the fuck to do it.
And it's not just training yourself. You have to train the household to leave
true.
You alone.
That's true.
And consider your, the time where you're working, actual work time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think my question, Hans, when you were traveling, did you find that traveling and being in different areas was better for the creativity, or was it hard not having kind of like a home base?
In my early years of traveling, it was basically just like, okay, I'm going to pick a bunch of countries and travel around. And it was more of just like a way to gain material. And then when I came home, I would put it all on the page. And I found that I couldn't live here and be a writer and earn a sustainable living. And there were countries I found outside of America that were more conducive to that. So especially the Czech Republic. I don't want to say it's the best country in the world, but it was pretty cool for that. So I was able to earn a living as an English teacher. I lived modestly, and I just crafted my schedule around writing and, of course, using teaching as a vehicle to earn enough money to support myself. And I just made sure that during the week, I dedicated 3 hours of my day minimum to my art, 5 days a week, 15 hours.
A little bit every day equals a lot.
It does. Where I fucked up was Prague was kind of a hedon's playground, and I was doing too much drinking,
At your face, dude.
snorting, and fucking. And
Tell us more.
They were great for material for a while, but then they just became destructive, and they pretty much almost killed me. That's a different story. But since then, I've learned, okay, I got to put my health as one of those instead of write, drink, fuck, coke.
Do you go over any of that in any of your books?
Go up, yeah.
I mean, I
Awesome.
think that's probably like also this
like the whole thing.
strange myth that
bye.
a lot of, is that, America likes to kind of portray, not necessarily, it's kind of a genre almost to think that wealth and, sex, money, drugs, like these are all great things, but it's kind of just like you said, like if you do it, you start to realize how shallow and vapid it almost becomes. Like it loses its luster very quickly. There's nothing connected to it. Yeah, there's no emotional.
Like diminishing returns eventually.
Oh, very fast though.
But in the beginning, it probably propels a lot.
I'm sure in the beginning it's like, this is a lot of fun. But then after time, you're like, I don't feel much anymore. This is no longer what I thought it was. I mean, that's my view of it. I don't know if you can speak to that or.
Yeah, I was an alcoholic for about 15 years and pretty heavy cocaine user for 3. At first, yeah, it was definitely a propellant for me to get into new scenarios, situations, talk to new people, blah, 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 blah. Definitely got a lot of wild stories out of it, but it reached a threshold and it crossed into a point where it was just doing much more destruction than it was creation, because I was using it as my primary source of fuel. And it, you can't dump garbage in your tank, day in and day out and expect gold to come out the other end.
Yeah.
And so that's what was happening. And, I got really, really sick. That's basically why I'm home now. But now I'm on the tail end of it. I wouldn't even say tail end. Well, maybe tail end.
You're on the mend.
Oh, I'm definitely on the mend. I mean, I was really sick with pancreatitis for a while, but I'm good now. And my doctors were just basically like, okay, no more drinking, no more of that. And if you do that, you can just live the rest of your life without any problem. And I was like, that's a pretty fucking good deal. I think I'm going to stick with that.
Sold, sir. Sold.
Any of our female listeners, he very much looks like a much more fit Pedro Pascal in the face. So if you need to if you need to imagine this voice of somebody, there you go. So enjoy that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who's Pedro Pascal? I don't know.
So he's like the Red Viper in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
He's
He's the Mandalorian.
He's
he plays Mando. He plays Mando.
He's the
Mandalorian.
voice of the Mandalorian.
No, he plays Mando. Like he's
I thought that
physically
was-
in the suit. No, at all
I thought
times.
that was Clint Eastwood. I thought that was Clint Eastwood's son who does all the the suit work.
No, that's
I
actually.
read somewhere that was him.
Oh, from my understanding, he was doing all of the work,
of it, yeah.
and then he would do voiceover
Even
later.
better.
Yeah,
Because that
'cause
physical acting is fucking brilliant.
That's what he loved about it. That's
That
what he
guy's
really
great.
wanted to do. But yeah, he was like Equalizer 2. Oh God, he was in the Ben Affleck.
Wasn't he in the
Oscar
Kingsman,
Isaac.
the second Kingsman?
He
too?
was in the second Kingsman. He was in the
Anyway,
Oscar Isaac.
now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
I think you may have an idea.
You're
of what he looks
fuckable
like.
is basically what we're getting to.
Sweet.
All right? You're fuckable.
Table of dudes are telling me that. That's fantastic.
It's always a good thing.
I don't know if we got a full answer from Sean. What fuels you to keep going? And
Yeah, you didn't weigh in on that one.
Better get in here, boy.
So
He's like, I'm still figuring it out.
So for me, creativity is a sort of the window that I feel safe letting people look through. I kind of, my whole life, like my brain's always going, constantly 100%, full throttle, multiple lines of thought simultaneously. And I hide that as much as possible from people because I've found in my life that it makes a lot of people very uncomfortable. Most people don't get a window into how I feel or what I think because I don't think that I share a lot of the same points of view as others. Anyways.
You're contrarian.
Right. Or at least I try to be analytical of things in ways that other people aren't. It's sort of kind of a hobby of mine. Anyways, so my creativity is a sort of outlet for everything in my head. And this is kind of like, well, here's a part of me that I want to share and see what people think of it. And I kind of use it as a sort of a gauge for myself, which may or may not be healthy, but I find that I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. Whether or not people like my work, just the act of taking something out of my head and putting it down on paper or, a document or whatever, or recording or something, the production of creative work is that outlet for me and that window for others to kind of get a sense of who I am in a way that's safe.
So is it safe to kind of say, because Matt, you're a screenwriter by trade. David, you're an illustrator by trade. I'm a film director by trade. Then you have Hans, who's a novelist by trade. Are you more of a hobbyist by trade? Or, because it sounds
I
like you
really
kind of have
dabble
creativity in a lot of different areas, not necessarily very specific.
So vocationally, I do graphic design and marketing for a Cinematech company. So I do like ads and things like that. I work in Photoshop type programs. It's not Photoshop because I'm cheap, but I kind of get a little bit of my creative juices out there. I'm mostly focused right now. I want to say as like a hobbyist, but I'm working a little bit above a hobbyist level. I'm not just doing it for funsies. I actually want to publish something. I'm creating a tabletop game because it's a good creative outlet for both writing and with my analytical mind, where I'm literally writing rules for an entire universe. I have to think of this world and its own unique physics and go, how do I create a rule structure that governs anything that can happen in this world and make it consumable
and balanced
by a layman?
Yeah, it's that I don't know, maybe this is something for all of us or not, but I do like this like ex machina type of being the god to create a particular world or point of view.
World building. Yeah, I guess world building is really what I'm doing. Yeah. Because I'm not just creating the lore behind an entire world, multiple species, animals, flora, fauna, you name it.
Jesus, even the fucking plants?
Yeah.
Well,
everything. I told you,
it's really cool.
There
to
is
me.
so
Yeah.
much in my head at all times that I need to have a creative outlet. Otherwise, I don't do well. And being able to share that, like I said, is a window into my mind.
Well, you know what I love about this, though, is because I've known you for so long. It's really cool to see you actually find something that you're driving all that creativity into.
And it's my driving force to become a better creator.
Yeah.
So I have all this stuff going on, and I probably wouldn't have become an artist of any kind. You know, I drew a lot as a kid, but I wasn't really an artist on like David's level, not even by a long shot. But
I don't think a lot of people are.
There's a lot of different kinds. There's a lot of
I mean, like
IQs.
I'm probably like, you know, like the kids with the crayons in the corner. Like that's my level of, you know, drawing capability. But like when it comes to,
But there's a lot of mediums.
but I know
Crayola,
I know what's
Picasso.
in my head, and I know how to convey that. So it's storytelling and descriptive writing and things like that. But I mean, like I wouldn't have become any of these things if I didn't have a need to produce this thing that's in my mind. It drives everything that I learn about how to be a creative person. All my technical skills, all my writing skills, everything is all driven by this intense need to get the stuff in my head out and in front of other people, because the approval or disapproval that I get there is kind of like a way for me to, it's a metric for, I guess, my own, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ego?
It certainly feeds the id. I tend to get a lot of positive feedback, but you know, I also have a lot of, you know, very trusted people who will tell me when it's shit, and I go, okay, cool, and I can kind of gauge where I'm at.
Yeah,
because I can read other people, no problem. It's reading myself. I have to kind of like meter where I'm at with other people by going, here's my shit. Yeah. What do you think?
You know what I love is for you, Hans, it seems, you know, because we're all coming from different disciplines, but for you, it's like your page, it's you. Like you're not writing for anybody in particular. You're in a lot of ways, you're writing for yourself. For me as a filmmaker, I'm bombarded every day with industry jargon and
influence.
Exactly. Right. Where like, I'm thinking like, I have this concept, I have this idea. This is something that I really want to kind of do, but then you questioning like, is this sellable? Is this marketable? Is it going to, you know, all these things. And I think for myself, it kind of came to a place where I'm trying to get to the mentality that you have, where it's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if it's sellable or not sellable or whatever. I'm just going to try to get to the page and just go with whatever it is. And hopefully that differentiates enough that can be sellable at some point.
Yeah, you're unadulterated blood. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But it took me a long time to actually get to that mentality, you know? And I think, Matt, you and I have talked pretty in depth about that particular process.
The fact is, there's so many people in the world that there's going to be a market for whatever it is you produce.
Right.
You just have to get it out there.
That book, right? That 1,000 fans. You guys ever heard this theory of 1,000 fans? No. So basically, there's a great book. I can send it to you guys, but the book is.
I won't read it.
I'll send you the Blinkist version of it.
I probably already know the premise.
The premise, and it's really smart, right? Because like all you need is 1,000 people that are willing to pay $20 a year or more. So anytime you have something that comes out, they're paying for it, right?
That way of looking at it.
Exactly.
Just
so
$2 a month.
You know what I mean? It's like you know,
Seems
say
a
you
little more
create,
achievable.
say like, you know, your 3 books that came out this last year, right? You found 1,000 fans. That's $60 per fan that you have. So what's 60 times 1,000, gentlemen?
60,000.
Boobies. Just kidding.
Boobies.
That is the vote count, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, $60,000. $60,000 is a good amount of money to live off of in doing your thing.
The truth is, I've released those 3 books in about the span of a year, less than a year, and I've made probably about $1,000 and not found 1,000 fans.
Sure. Well, and it's the thing though, right?
Building.
It builds. But the goal becomes looking at it from that mentality. I don't need to hit a mass market. I don't need 1 million people. I just need 1,000 people that really believe in what I'm doing, believe in the work that I'm doing. I mean, it's like, to me, it's the whole Kevin Smith model, right? It's like Kevin Smith did these kind of cult classic style movies, right? And luckily, you know, in his earlier years, you know, he got big distribution through Miramax and all that bullshit.
Weinstein.
Weinstein. Thank you. The things that he must have done to get that fucking Clerks bought.
Those old Kevin Smith movies really touch me. Really.
Womp, womp.
Hit the button. What?
Sometimes I like to make the sound myself, you jerk. Anyway,
Fucking guy.
My point is that he found a group of fans. He kept a group of fans, and all this dude does now, he just makes stoner movies. Like that's literally all the movies he makes.
They're not good.
It doesn't matter if they're not good.
It doesn't matter if they're not good.
It doesn't matter at this point because he has his audience that he knows.
He has
that
a hardcore base.
But no,
following.
I would
And I'm
technically
okay with
disagree
that,
with that
you know?
because like Tusk and whatever the next one he did, I don't know, it's like about the fucking little German
the
soldiers.
sausage, whatever.
Yeah, like the
I
sausage
can't remember
Germans
what
who
it
came to
is.
life.
Oh no, yoga hosers.
Yoga hosers, thank you. That had a bit of a budget. It was like $1 million plus. He did not have enough people see it to cover that.
No, he actually, what ended up happening is so Tusk was
Trash.
I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
I liked
I
Tusk.
loved it. I
Has
thought it
everyone
was
here
great.
have you guys seen Tusk?
I've seen it where he's the guy that he turns him into a
What's even
walrus
better
or
is
whatever.
here's
Hold
the thing.
I want to get Hans' opinion since he's not here all the time. No, fuck
before-
off. Fuck
don't
off.
you fuck
Let
me.
Hans speak.
Listen to me, okay? What I love
and
about
Daddy are
that
fighting.
damn movie, you can't let Matt push you around, okay? You can't let him push you around. Please don't push me around, Matt.
There it is.
Don't burn the roast.
The reason why I think I love Tusk, I look at it from two different perspectives. So bear in mind, we're probably going to look at it from Hans' perspective, knowing what he knows, which is, do you know the backstory of how Tusk got made?
Enlighten me.
So this is why I fucking love something like this, because it was literally a podcast, just like we're doing right now, him and his buddy Mosier, and they were basically going through these weird articles, and somebody pinged him this Craigslist ad about a weird dude that was looking for somebody that would dress up like a walrus and basically feed and do whatever in this walrus costume for a couple hours a day, and they'll get free room, free board, all that jazz, right? And in the process, they're all stoned as shit, and he goes off on a potential beat sheet of what this movie would be. And so all of a sudden, he's like, this movie would be hilarious. And he told his fans, he says, if you guys want this movie to be made, #walrus yes on my Twitter feed or whatever. Millions of his listeners fucking hashtagged yes. Right? And so they ended up going through it, and he's like, look, a lot of people want to watch this dumb fucking thing. And it went through a podcast all the way through a completed film that got distribution. So to me, that is a wonderful way of, like, if we had an idea at this table right now, we got 1,000 listeners, we could easily say, hey, you guys like us, we appreciate you. We made this fucking thing. Go out and buy it. And we have a direct audience that wants it. To me, like, Kevin Smith is like the pioneer for a lot of those
Yeah, but
types
you're
of
forgetting one
concepts.
important thing.
What's that?
There's a difference between appreciating someone's creative method and appreciating what came out of it.
product.
Came out of it.
Yeah.
And so this is the difference, right? Because I'm a film guy and I appreciate the history that got to that film. You know what I mean?
And the history's dope. I agree. I just didn't care for the product.
I don't know. I liked it. I
liked
guess
the
this is
product.
sensibility, right?
I like
This
the
is,
product, but not because it was like a blockbuster film. I look at it like there's like A-list movies. There's, but there's also like in gaming, there's AAA titles.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly the AAA title of film. It was,
Of course not. It was very B.
It was very B, but it was a good B.
Well,
it was
and
like
there was
a B
moments
plus.
in that movie, though, right?
It
Like-
felt a little
It didn't
derivative.
claim to be anything that it wasn't, right?
Exactly. It wasn't
At
trying to
all.
be something else and failing. It was.
It was trying to be so bad that it comes back around to good, and to some people it did.
yeah, right? I mean,
I
It
felt
didn't
like
feel a little bit like Human Centipede.
I felt like it was very
in a weird sense,
But I mean,
close,
I think
but
I think it's a lot like that,
Yeah.
though. I felt like it was supposed to be
with better
exactly
performances,
what it
by the way.
was.
Because who's the guy? Michael Park? Who was the old man?
Yeah, it was Michael Park, I believe.
Michael Park? Yeah. Rest in peace, bro.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Great
dude.
character
Great
actor.
character actor.
Yeah.
I mean, there's scenes in there that I'm just like, geez, fuck, he's just so good no matter what he's reading.
I felt like it was a bunch of different elements that came together really well to make probably a mediocre script turn into like a pretty well produced movie for what it was.
For what it was, exactly.
But going back to the fact that, like you said, millions of people were like, yes,
Sure.
#yes. The budget was $3 million, which
Yes.
sounds so expensive for whatever reason. It made
It all went to Michael Park.
It went 1.9. So
That's how much it made.
It didn't even cover the budget.
Well, the marketing was garbage.
Well,
Marketing was garbage, but I even think that people who saw it, I didn't check the Metacritic, but I feel like no one's
mean,
going to
like-
go out and be like, this was
See,
a
but you're
fun
that
movie.
dude that's looking at that type of data. There's so much other things happening underneath the, behind the curtain that we don't know about.
True.
You know what I'm
I am
saying?
definitely like when you were talking earlier about like when you write, like, Hans writes for himself. I literally think about, okay, how is it financially feasible?
Yeah.
Is this marketable? Is it going to be for a mass audience? Like I generally write like that.
Well, yeah, you're looking to sell though. That's,
yes, I
especially
want
in the
to
movie
sell
business,
to
right?
sustain, I want to sell to sustain. I think when I get to a point where like I'm living comfortably,
Just do
I'll
whatever the fuck
write
you
the
want.
one that it's just like, I want to direct this. I want to do this because I do have that drive to do that. And I think this is where there's a very strange belief, the starving artist, whatever the fuck you want to call it. People really romanticize that shit. It's not fun.
No, it's garbage.
It is not fucking fun. It's not
sucks.
romantic. There's nothing fun about it, but there is kind of a, you have to pay your dues.
It's the
and that's
rags to
perfectly fine.
riches stuff,
Yeah, and not everybody has to pay their dues. There's John Spates, who wrote Prometheus. His spec was Shadow 19, I think. And then that got him a job for Prometheus. He wrote the one with Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, Passenger or whatever.
Passenger.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of those. So he's done really well. But he didn't have that struggle. Like he did something creatively. I think it was like video advertising. Like he created commercials. He made a shit ton of money, sold the company, and then just lived off that while he was writing.
I mean, that's nice.
A lot of people struggle. Some don't. If you can,
what makes you think that he didn't struggle through that entire process?
I don't think I think he struggled to get the company up. But once he sold the company, he sold it for a shit ton of money.
Sure.
So he can comfortably live creatively. Yes, there's always a struggle there to create, content that is digestible and people accept, especially in screenwriting. Because I think, writing a novel or things like that, generally speaking, you will write for yourself and people will relate to it on that level. It's like, I connect with this, I understand this. Whereas I think with screenwriting, if you want to get the most people, you have to write very general. Like if you write in a niche, you're going to have that. Absolutely.
But then it becomes an indie art house film and nobody fucking watches it.
Exactly. But the idea of like, you have to be struggling. Like if you don't have to struggle, fucking don't.
Yeah.
Well, the idea, I think nobody's really fully in control of this, even though people think that they are. Is you need a break.
Exactly.
You create, and either you get one early or you get one late, and the break is where you can step in and make more money off of it.
Right.
Whether you gather a big cult following or you get in at a big company. This is on the same subject. You edit this out if you want, but this is slightly derailing. This is on the concept of good or bad ideas.
Mm-hmm. I like this.
I want to start. We have a few graphic designers here at the table. So, a T-shirt company where everyone puts in money, a small amount of money. Where you get enough people, it's a small enough amount of money to print a shirt run, and everyone competes to design the worst T-shirt. And everyone votes together which is the worst T-shirt, and the idea is just putting. I don't want my idea. I'm not trying to get my designs out. I just genuinely want the worst design put out.
Well, it's funny you say that. There's like a thing, I saw it on Instagram, but like this dude, I forget where it was.
Hipster gold.
But people were sending in pictures of their pets and he drew horrible pictures. Like it started out, he was drawing with his son. Like they would just draw pictures like as cards for like family members. And then people started submitting pictures, like draw a horrible picture of like my dog or my cat. They're hysterical, mind you. Like they're terribly drawn, but they're funny as hell. He raised like $30,000 from that for a charity.
Jesus.
Like just because they're
Doesn't
terrible.
gotta be good. Just has to be produced.
Yeah.
And you will find an audience.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I should clarify something or qualify something that I said earlier when I was mentioning about like why I produce it. I think I touched on this off mic during the break, but the idea of compersion is deriving joy from the joy of others. So when I produce, and I present it to other people, it isn't because I'm seeking like their approval per se. I literally almost vampirically feed on their joy. It gives me joy when other people enjoy what I do. Right?
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So like if I go, here's something I created, and it is, yes, still a window to my mind, and it is a safe way for me to express that. But I do find that when other people, whether or not they enjoy it, it doesn't really have any effect on me. Like I'm not going to sit there and hate myself if nobody likes something I made. Right? I'll just go, okay. I'll take that feedback.
Eat a dick, asshole. Peace out.
I'll take that feedback and then improve. In fact, for me, like, if it's negative result, then I go, okay, now I know, and I can do better next time.
Yeah.
But, it's just feedback. It's all feedback. But when I get that positive feedback, the reward of joy that somebody else takes in something that I did, that is pure hot liquid gold for myself.
I think that's almost intrinsic for don't want to say all artists, but we always want to provide some kind of joy, maybe even catharsis for people. Like
You feel the same way?
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah,
Hans,
you
when
feel
you were
the
reading,
same way, Hans?
I'm
Yeah.
super jealous of people who have the confidence to, like, I do not have that. But when you were reading, like, you had a very true, almost statue to yourself. Like, when you were reading and when you were expressing, like, you were like back in that moment of writing it. Like, you were just living that out. And I think that is phenomenal.
What I really liked
Thanks,
about
man.
it too was that I felt like when you were reading, not just what you wrote, but how you read it and everything, I felt like we were all being taken to those experiences in your life. And that's not easy to do, to put down really raw emotion like that, really raw thoughts, and just take other people to your experiences like that, dude. That is commendable. That is good stuff. I mean, very, very good. I liked it a lot.
So back to your point, Matt, like,
When you do that, I mean, do you find, there's joy in the creative aspect of it, but do you find also like kind of the same, I forgot the word already because I'm terrible with my memory.
Compersion.
Plus it's just an interesting word. Like, do you find that as well?
Sort
like
of made up,
when
but-
someone can feel the joy or the emotion that you were getting across, do you find like joy in that yourself? Like, if you can connect with somebody, it's like, this is awesome.
It's kind of a layered question. I'll answer it like from my perspective, like what I'm actually looking for. Like, do I feel joy in their joy? So not necessarily like when I read something or I write something, my main objective isn't necessarily to evoke joy, but it's just to evoke.
Right.
Like, I want to produce a strong reaction in somebody when I write. And the only way I can do that is by kind of going to places in my life that produced a strong reaction in me, and then just writing about them in honest language. That the purpose is simply to codify and deliver that experience to your brain.
Success.
So that
You
it can,
did that.
and if I can do that, like, your response is your own. Like, if it's negative or positive or somewhere in between, like, I'm not necessarily concerned with that as long as there's a reaction. Right. And like, I'm not trying to make you angry. I'm not trying to make you happy either. I'm just going, this is what happened to me. And I do use a little bit of fiction. I have an alias, I guess you could say alias, alter ego, whatever, Johann Fellmann, like, and I do that for a number of reasons. Some of my editors have gotten angry at me. They're like, your work is very autobiographical, but you use this weird perversion of your name. And I said, the reason I do that is because I'm writing about my past, and I wasn't necessarily that same person
That's
I
not
was in
who
that
you are.
moment.
Yeah.
So if I can put on my spacesuit, which is that name, and go back to that time, it's a little easier for me to slip into that time and be that person with
Be
a
Johann.
different name other than be the Hans who I am now, who's kind of the updated whatever
2.0 version.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny too, because I'm kind of leaning in that direction, right? It's like, am I
It's
thinking
just
about
my tool. Some people
No,
don't
and
agree
it's-
with it, and they're like,
yeah.
no.
But I think you bring up a good
preference.
point in terms of injecting truth into something. When somebody writes a story, you can tell kind of a lack of believability or truth in it if they are not speaking from some kind of perspective that they've been through. If they aren't speaking to a truth about themselves, you can feel that kind of false
it's contrived a lot
projection.
of times.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But when someone writes with like the kind of conviction that you did, like you believe, you're like, yeah, I know this person went through that.
Yeah.
And that comes across in the story. I don't think a lot of people understand that, especially like for me with screenwriters, when they write something like this one kid I know, he's white and he wrote about black inner city youth. I was like, this comes across as terrible. Like, I don't think you understand the perspective. He's like, no, I have friends like this. I was like, you basically just said, no, I'm not racist. I have black friends.
Yeah. No.
That is exactly how it came across.
Oof.
So there's,
Big oof.
big oof. But it definitely, I think when you speak from a perspective that you've lived and you've understood, that is conveyed so much better in a story. I think that's why yours hits harder and it just resonates, because I believe every second of it.
So do you guys think it's hard? Like, sometimes art is escapism, and sometimes it's challenging and making you think. Which one do you think is harder?
And I was going to make this point a little earlier, and I think for my own right, you guys all seen my work at this point. So, I mean, the last film I just did, which was this thing of ours, right? And I think I kind of took your approach of like, I wasn't trying to make it so like people can connect to it and all this type of stuff. I was just writing a truth about my own insecurity and just like putting it out there for people to.
This is a safe way for people to view what's inside.
What's inside, I guess. Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like
You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little familiar there.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Compersion.
And then so what I started thinking about is like, what are stories that really get me excited to sit down and write? Because I'm not a writer, right? Like people tell me like, you're a writer. And yes, I am to a point, but like the act of doing it is very difficult for me. And I think it's difficult for everybody. Right. But I don't look at myself as a writer. I look at myself as like, I guess just as a storyteller in general. And I have an idea and I'm like, I just want to sit down and write an experience that I've had and find the best way to dramatize it and make it entertaining so that people can absorb that, whatever that thing is.
Well,
you
it's
know
like
what I mean?
what I was saying before about like, I wouldn't necessarily have become any of these particular types of creatives if I didn't have a need to convey something. Right. So like I wouldn't have become a creative writer if I didn't have a need to have a story told. Right. So like, I mean, I'm more of a big picture person. I can kind of zoom out from everything and see all the working pieces. That's why I'm world building on my creative works. And I can see all the moving pieces and every string that pulls every little lever, that every little gear that's turning. But the only reason I'm doing everything else that produces it is in order to convey what I see.
Yeah. I think a lot of things that drive individual things that I do is this needs to exist. And I haven't seen it in this way yet. Everything's a remix. So I can't say, I'm totally original. It's like everything is a bunch of garbage goes in and then I picture something that is a remix way of things I've seen. And then it's like, I need to see this.
That's just how art
you need
is,
to
right?
see it the way you see it. But
I need my version
of it. Physicalize
it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just art in general, right? Like, think about all the things, Matt, that you watched, grew up with, absorbed, right? And then that's coming through one particular funnel, which is you, and then it gets spit out into a new type of way, right? It's always an amalgamation of influences. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I sat down the other day looking at, like, you know, things that I'm interested in and, like, my writing style or my visual style as a director. And I was like, oh, well, I wrote down, like, my top 10 favorite directors that I kind of lean towards and things that I like. And I was just like, I'm an amalgamation of all these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It becomes this remix. And now whatever gets spit out is like, oh, it's a Gary Jones film. You know what I mean? So I completely see what you're talking about.
No, I mean, it was like when Hans said earlier, you know, when you brought up like Bukowski and he agreed with it. Like there's always, especially now, since it's been around for so long in terms of sharing ideas and creativity and things like that, we're always going to be affected by someone prior.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some capacity of that. I mean, Tarantino even said it. Like there's a quote he had and he's like, I lift from everything I've ever seen.
Yeah. There's also a really great quote too. Like it says, the mark of a great artist is hiding your references.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, but Tarantino showed like in Inglourious Bastards when Christoph Waltz's character like walks from the door and sees Shoshana running and it's like, it's solid black inside. You can see everything. That is a shot from another film. I couldn't tell you what it was, even though they had it up, but he's done that multiple times and he's not ashamed of it. He's like, no, I'm lifting it. But then I'm putting it's an homage and I'm putting my own perspective on it.
But you know what's interesting about now though? I feel like, you know, we live in a culture that's this cancel culture, right? So it's like, oh, you're just stealing this from that thing. You know what I mean? Or like, oh, somebody already did it. You know, the old saying like Simpsons did it. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
South Park, you beautiful bastard.
But you get what I'm saying though? Like it's, I feel in some ways you're going against those people that are just like,
that happens.
Blah.
Like most artists you ask them, they can give you a list of influences and some they may want to name, some may not want to name, but every once in a while you get like a musician and they say, oh, who are your influences? And they'll say, oh, nobody. I don't really listen to music.
That's
and you're just like, ugh, yeah,
you're
that's
fucking
bullshit. Yeah. How would you even know what music is if you didn't listen to music?
Right.
That's like saying you're a fucking math expert and you never took a fucking math class. Kill yourself. That was a bit aggressive, but I'm not going to apologize for it.
Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, exactly.
You're bad and you should feel bad. Not you, whoever that person is that you're talking about.
What's funny though is when someone only lists the most obscure people they could think of, when you know they have some mainstream influences as well, which is fine.
That's
you know,
hipster shit.
you're spreading, but the good thing is you're spreading in the name of obscure people who may not have that you know.
Yeah, but only
exposure.
in the effort, though, right?
God damn it, you let
so
Hans
much-
speak.
so-
He's literally
I'm so
put his
sorry.
mouth to the mic like 3 times. We've all
You got
interjected.
to jump in, Hansi Ponzi.
Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to let I don't want to
He's a kind
be
man.
obnoxious.
see that.
Like, I'm just
We're
talking-
all obnoxious as fuck. I will
Yeah,
be.
you're saying you're
obnoxious. I'm just saying, like, I don't
over here, man.
I
You
don't
got
want
to
to
jump
stand
in.
apart here.
Just
from the
start
rest
kicking
of us.
shins under the table.
Not trying. But if an artist is afraid to name their influences, I think it's probably because there's someone that they are almost, their work is almost unidentifiable from. Like it's not unique, indistinguishable from. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's indistinguishable from, and they don't want that person necessarily being named because they haven't found really who they like for the longest time.
Too much plagiarism.
I was afraid to tell people, oh, I really like Bukowski because I was still trying to find my way through his work. He was a huge influence on me. But I think I've done that. Like now that I've published some work and I've, gone like, okay, you're amazing, but like, I want to take this over here and move away from just the hard drinking, hard partying, hard fucking lifestyle, which is cool. Right. Gave me a lot, but like, I want to move in this direction.
That's the work though, man. I think that's the fucking work.
But here's the thing. If you have a tombstone that says don't try, then I will call you a
I'm not going to have a tombstone that says don't try.
I still can't believe he has that as on his fucking, that's what it says,
Good
right? It
for
says
him.
don't try.
Don't try.
Good for him.
What the fuck?
All right, lightning round, gentlemen. What would be on your tombstone? Matt, go.
I'm better than you.
David?
I just want a hand sticking out of the ground that's cast off my own hand and the date and maybe the name written on the wrist.
Nice.
I just want to scare people at night.
Wow.
Just it's all there like, oh, what the hell is that?
But you should put it on like a mechanism so that it has like a motion sensor.
out.
If anybody walks by, it just goes
like pop.
That would be cool. I would totally sign up for that.
Yeah, right? What about you, Sean?
Underestimate me, I dare you.
Oh, very nice. Hans?
This is going to sound really lame, but
Even better.
there's a poem that I wrote from that collection that is, when I wrote it, I was like, this is what I want on my tombstone. It's called Breakfast of Heads. And it's, I don't know if you remember that poem, but that one was probably, I don't know it offhand, but I mean, I guess I could read it from your phone if you want, but it's like a half a page.
Oh.
But
Yeah, let's do it.
maybe we can end with that. I don't know if you want to hear it.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
This is good. Use that in closing.
Okay.
Definitely.
The tombstone of this episode.
The tombstone of the
Fucking A.
episode.
My tombstone would say...
No one cares.
It would say that.
How did you
You're in
know
charge.
that's exactly what
You're
it
in
was
charge
gonna
of making
say. No one cares.
Oh my God.
I thought it would say something like "Welcome to Tool Time."
Oh my God, because I look like Al Borland.
Because for those of you who can't see Gary,
my God.
Here's the thing, I've never noticed that.
He could be the new Al Borland.
Oh my God.
If there was a new Tool Time.
I think they're coming out with a new one. They're coming out with a new one.
Did you audition?
Yes. I hate you guys.
Excellent.
And I love you guys very much.
All right, what would it say? What would it say? What would your tombstone say?
You said it.
Really? That's what you would
it.
say?
That's what it said.
Bullshit.
You're lying.
That's
You're
it.
absolutely lying. You're trying to placate. Don't fuck with us.
No. Now you're being all shy.
Yeah, what the fuck is this?
Else
Well,
in
I
mind.
mean,
We're all being honest.
For that.
it would honestly say, "Here lies Gary Allen Jones." Fuck.
Nice. Fuck. I made it. Damn it.
Would it say pineapple? Like you called the safe word on life?
Yeah, right.
Actually, that would be my second option on my tombstone was
Pineapple.
I made it.
Oh, I made it. Yeah.
That multiple things.
Is it like I made it? Sort of.
Question mark?
Sort of. Yeah, sort of.
Hold my beer.
Nice. That would be my autobiography.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Well, gentlemen, thank you guys. This has been another great episode. We're on iTunes now. You can find us on iTunes. We can find us on YouTube. Just search, Spotify. We're on there now.
Everywhere
So
great podcasts are presented.
I think that's what most podcasts say, right?
Something like
where
that.
you listen to great podcasts.
We're
Just go
basically
over
your
there.
favorite STD. We're infecting everything.
Yeah, pretty soon we'll be on other platforms, maybe.
Yeah. So, go ahead, like, subscribe, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs down, give us a thumbs up, do whatever you guys want to do.
We'll probably have a Facebook and a Twitter at some point.
But we're just having a good time, guys. Hans, thank you very much for being on the show. Where can we actually find your book?
So my books are all on Amazon, but I mean, if you want to just go to my website, Hans Joseph Fellmann, FELLMANN.com, you can find my 3 books on there, travel photos, some other cool stuff. So yeah, that's my plug. Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. And this is the show. Enjoy your rest of the week. And we're out.
This poem is called Breakfast of Heads, and it's definitely what I would want on my tombstone. If you listen to any of them, you're done. If you take one kind word or one evil word and sew it into your heart, you might as well cut the fucker out and toss it in the trash. Never, ever, ever listen to them. The skulls of defeat, the cackling hands of waste. Keep your compass close and your arrogance dear. Sever the poison finger of opinion if it ever comes near. If you do, if you willingly brave the jagged staircase to hell, there will be a breakfast of heads waiting for you.
Let your pretty little heart skip. Be strong. Keep your head up high. Try not to fall into an awful style upon your first try. I'll see you next time you decide to come visit me.